Hey guys, it's Josh here and welcome to a tutorial video on how I personally do my object recolors in The Sims 4. Before we get started, you'll need two programs. You'll need Sims 4 Studio and you'll also need a photo editing tool, such as GIMP. That's what I personally use, but you could probably get away with using any other program. So once you have those two programs, let's jump right in. So what you first want to do is open up Sims 4 Studio so we can get the resources required to start recoloring. So what you want to do is open up Object, Standalone Recolor, and then you can, if you find the item you want to recolor, I've just pre-selected seasons. It's probably best to know what pack the item you want to recolor is in, so it's because it's just so much easier to find. Or you can just like type in what's it called. This one's actually called the Sit and Z, so I can just type sit and it will pop up. So I want to recolor this couch right here, so I click on that, hit next, just type a name. I'll just type in couch. Oops, I can't even spell right now. So couch, it will do its thing, and then once that's done, you just find the texture you want to recolor from as your starting point. Generally I pick the white swatch since it's so much easier. So what you want to do now, once you have the swatch you want to export, you just click export, give it a name. I'll just call this base texture. That opens up the file explorer, and you can just remove all the other swatches. You can even remove the original swatch if you want. Just like make sure you have one left, and then just re-import the texture in case you make a mistake, and then just add another swatch, and now you're ready to open up GIMP. Once GIMP is open, just drag and drop, or just open up through File, just open up the texture. As you can see, it's a little bit like confusing, but it should be quite easy to find what you want to recolor. So for this tutorial, I'll just be recoloring the couch and this cushion right here. These two other things are cushions as well, but I just want to recolor two cushions and have some grey cushions as well. So first you want to select, since I want to have these as different colors, you'll need to select them individually. So first I'll create a layer for these cushions. So you grab the selection tool, drag and select an area. And if you want to select, if it's like not a perfect square, just hold shift and drag a second box and it'll add it to the first box. And as you can see, both areas are selected. Create a new layer and then grab the paint tool and put white over the entire thing. This may look a bit crazy, but what you want to do now is go where it says mode normal and actually pick multiply. And right now it looks invisible, but once that's done, you can go to an option called colorize, and then once you start putting the lightness down, you'll see that it starts to change color a little bit, which is pretty cool. And then once you do that, you can like change the hue of it, and that will also like change the color, as you can see. So yeah, that's cool. And then click OK, it's red. And then for the second part, you basically do the same thing and drag over the cushion, create a new layer, put white on it, and then multiply it, and then just do colorize again. And then let's just lower the brightness, or the lightness rather, and then just change the hue. So I might make this one orange. Oops. And maybe yeah, there we go. It's a bit fiddly sometimes. There we go, that's cool. And if you want, you can actually like make it brighter or like make it gray again. But I'll just make this normal. And like, I'll export that. So to export, just go export as, and I'll just call this red. And say if you're making a bunch of swatches, instead of having to colorize every time, you can just go to hue saturation and just drag it a little bit. Hang on, wrong select. You have to make sure you unselect areas when you're on a different layer. Because like say if I was trying to I was clicked on this layer and I have a selection here, nothing will happen because it's trying to recolor, like it's trying to change the hue of the layer, but only this part of it, and there's nothing there, so like nothing will even happen. So once you do that, everything's unselected, go to hue saturation, and then just basically like drag your hue up and down until you get to where you want. So you can like do it incrementally so that like you can slowly go through all the colors of the rainbow, and then just keep exporting it every time. Anyway, now that we've exported red, let's go back into our item and re-import the texture. As you can see, it's looking pretty cool, and I did actually end up forgetting to change the color of these, but if you ask me, it kind of looks really cool. So yeah, that's basically like the basic tutorial part. So now we'll move on to adding patterns. So to add textures for this tutorial, I'll be doing a recolor on a bed. So let's just go to bed. I'll be using this Crosshatch Delight from Seasons. I don't know why all my tutorials are for Seasons. They're just really cool items. So I shall just save it as bed. Once that's done, as per usual, I'll look for the white swatch, and I already know there is one, which is why I've picked this bed. So as you can see, this is the white swatch, so I'll just go back out and just pull this bed base texture. Once that's done, I'll just delete the unwanted swatches. And then import the white one again just in case, and I've made a mistake, so we'll have to go back out and go back in. One thing I forgot is that sometimes depending on what object it is, the texture you want might actually not even, the bed actually has two textures, so this is the texture I want, not the bed frame. But you can also change the bed frame if you want. So I'll just export the actual bed sheets this time instead of the bed frame, just by replacing it. So now I can delete everything. And then re-import the bed texture, and then open up GIMP again. I'll just reset everything, discard. Obviously you generally save it once you're done, but I'm just discarding it. So as you can see, the bed's up. So what you want to do now is, I've actually gotten a pattern in preparation for this. So I just drag the pattern on. It's a pretty funky pattern, but I actually really love it. So once you have your pattern, or whatever you want to overlay on the bed sheets up, just shrink it down to size. Oops, I made it a little bit too small. Yeah, that's perfect. So I'm just gonna lower the opacity a little bit just so I can see behind it. And then what you want to do, oh, it's a bit too bright actually. There we go, that should be fine for now. So what you want to do now is just basically make a rough selection of where the bed is, because you don't want the pattern to appear on any other part of the bed, which you don't want. So once that's done, selection tool. This is the lasso tool, by the way. Anyway, once you've gotten your selection done, just press Ctrl I, press delete, and you're left with basically the only area you want. So once you do that, I'll just put the opacity back up again. And then you just pick multiply again, and as you can see, it's overlaid it on top of the bed, leaving the texture behind the bed as well. So the crosshatch part of the bed is still visible. And to help a bit more, I'll also lower the opacity a little bit because it's a bit too vibrant. So I'll have to lower it a little bit just so it looks a bit more nicely light baby blue. So that looks pretty good. So let's just export that and see what happens. So I'll just call this blue. That is done, so let's go back, create another swatch, make sure we select the bed sheets and import. As you can see, this is looking pretty cool, but there are still a bit of recoloring we haven't done yet, so we will open back up and find where that is. For this bed, it's quite obvious, but sometimes it's a little bit hard to find where the texture is. But for this bed, as you can see, it's right here. So what you want to do is just grab a little selection like this, and then copy and paste that. And as you can see, one of them's upside down, so you'll just have to flip that. So so this is the right way up, so I'll create another copy as well. Oops, that's not how it's done. And then just drag it on top of the other corner. But this one will have to be flipped vertically. If you double tap the flip tool, you can flip horizontal, or vertically rather, and then just flip it like that. So once that's done, go back into these two, and then just merge down and multiply. And we'll also obviously have to put the opacity down just so it's the same color as the main bed. So that looks pretty good. So we'll re-export that, open up Sims 4 Studio, and then re-import the texture. And as you can see, now it's looking really good. So now that we've done our base texture, I guess if you wanted to, you can start doing more color options. So before we merge, usually it's really annoying, but when you want to merge objects that have are multiplied, I usually make them normal again just before I merge them, because it sometimes glitches out and like it goes invisible and stuff like that. So just to avoid that, I'm just gonna make them normal, merge, and then multiply again. And obviously we'll have to change the opacity. We can click on it. There we go. Cool. So, and then like, it's really easy to recolor once you have them all merged, because you can literally just change the hue. And like, it's so easy, and it's like really cool as well. It's like, look at how cool that purple one looks. And like, when I do recolors, I generally just like move the hue around until I find a cool color. So I might make a like purple one, which is pretty cool. So I'll re-export that, and I call it purple. Once that, and I'll also make another one because it's fun, right? And I'll make a green one. That's a really nice green. So green. That's done. So now we can just make 2 swatches. Texture, import green, texture again, and import purple. And that's basically the end of like the texturing part of the tutorial. But now we'll be going into like the stuff you'll have to do if you want to like release this to other people, I guess. So what you want to do obviously is first create like the proper swatch icons, which is quite easy. I generally just do one color because otherwise it's just, you have to change so much. So this one's white, so we'll obviously just make this white. And you just like basically click on it. And if you want to make it a lot more easier, you just like click on standard, and like you just literally like, click on what you want. So this one's blue, so I'll pick blue. Sometimes there won't be like the color you want, so that's when you'll have to open up the advanced option. But for the most part, basically every like type of color you need is here. And this one is a lime color. That's a bit too bright, but I won't be like sharing this, so it's not a big problem. And then you probably want to do tags as well. So the only tag you probably ever need to change during recoloring is just the colors. So this one is not blue, so I'll make that green. Not blue, it's purple. This one is blue by chance, and then this one is white. And then you save that once you've done all that. And if you want, you could since this is a standalone recolor, you can like call it what you want as well. So like recolored, and like you can also like, if you wanted to like change the description and price even, but like I don't think people would want to pay more for like a bed with a different texture, because it's just the same bed, but it just has a more swatch. Like you could do like a override recolor, but generally those, to me at least, I find that there's a higher chance for them for conflicting with other CC, because you might accidentally download like another override and they'll try and override the same thing, and that probably won't end well. Anyway, I think that's the end of the tutorial. It was a pretty quick one compared to my mesh edit one, because this is just retexturing. So yeah, I hope you guys found this useful or helpful. If you have any suggestions or ideas for future videos relating to like CC, or even just like my other videos, please feel free to let me know. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys!